Is credit card debt stealing your dreams and robbing you of your financial future? Hello, my name is Eric Johnson. Thank you for watching the Financial Freedom Network. Today, we will be discussing how to break the bondage of debt and some practical steps that you can take to get your finances under control. If you are trapped in credit card debt and are in need of practical steps to eliminate debt and regain control of your life financially, or if you can't pay off your bills, or wealth just seems like a distant dream, then stay tuned. My guest today is Dwight Nichols, a former investment banker, author of God's Plans for Your Finances, and his new publication, Debt2freedom Handbook. His book, God's Plans for Your Finances, is filled with practical principles and helpful tips for turning income into wealth. In his new publication, Debt2freedom Handbook, Dwight focuses on how the finance industry is robbing individuals and communities of their wealth and net worth through high interest rates and hidden fees. In his handbook, he outlines proven steps you can take to get out of debt and regain control of your life. Dwight, welcome and thank you for being on the show today.
Well, Eric, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great, it's our honor. Listen, I want to get right off starting talking about your book, God's Plans for Your Finances. I've had a chance to read it. I immediately had my wife read it, and it's really changed the way we look at finances and debt. And I would like for you to just start off by telling us how that book came about.
Well, actually, Eric, the way the book came about is because it came from my personal experience with debt. In my early 20s, I had a business failure. I actually lost a lease on one of the laundries that I had, and as a result of that situation, I ended up, head over heels in debt, and with seemingly no way to get out of debt. And as a result of that, I ended up with the normal stuff, the harassing telephone calls. I actually had business loans. I had bank loans. I had credit card debt and a whole bunch of other bills that seemingly I just was no way to pay because I just didn't have the cash flow.
Right.
And one day, I went to church, and my pastor did a message on financial stewardship. And as a result of that message, one of the things that he said in that message is that God actually wanted us to be blessed financially. I never heard anything like that. And the other point that he made was that if you're having financial problems, there's usually a reason that you're having financial problems. So what happened was at that point, I went into an exhaustive study, going back through the scripture, looking for principles and stuff as it relates to financial and economic matters. And what I discovered literally changed my life. I began to realize that God had a financial plan for your life just like he had a spiritual plan. And there were actually principles and laws outlined that if a person would follow those principles and laws outlined, then it would have a direct impact on how they actually ended up financially. So what happened was, after I did this, I started teaching. After I learned these things, we actually were able to get our finances and stuff together without actually filing bankruptcy. So what I did, started writing these things down and started teaching these principles at church. And as a result, things just took off from that. The book is actually, at this point, we've actually sold over 200,000 copies of the book, and through our workshops and seminars, we've actually helped thousands of people get out of debt. One of the things that we want to bring out in this, to our listeners is, if you are having a problem financially, then there's literally hope for you. If you have debt, like credit card debt, student loans, and other things like this, that's weighing you down, there's really hope. There are basic steps and basic principles that you can follow that can break that financial bondage in your life. And it's actually steps that you can take that can release financial pressure almost immediately.
So you're a real life example of somebody who was buried in debt, and you were able to look at these principles and work your way out of it. So that's a powerful message to the audience.
Absolutely. The bottom line here is that the reason that people are having difficulties and stuff with their finances is normally because it's something that they are doing wrong. Many people are trapped in finance with money problems and struggling with their finances because it's something out of line. And what happens is, as in my particular case, I was breaking a lot of basic principles, that actually govern finance without ever realizing it. So I was in financial bondage without ever realizing it.
Well, let's talk about some of these principles in your book. What are some of the principles in your book that can help the audience members break free from the bondage that debt is placing on them?
Right. Actually, some of the principles that governs your finances is well, first of all, one of the principles is that you must find out why you're in the position in the first place. You have to identify, what caused the problem in the first place, and then what you need to do is start taking steps in the direction, in the direction of taking care of it, eliminating the problems and stuff that you have. So one of the things is that we need to identify, and our audience need to identify, is that there's a close relationship between debt and poverty. What happens is debt actually transfers wealth from the borrower to the lender. That's a direct principle. That one of the principles that I learned, that once you actually go into debt, what you are actually doing is you are transferring your wealth. See, wealth is built by building up net worth, and as a result of debt, you have less money to actually build net worth. Net worth is the difference between what you actually owe, and what you actually own. So if you spending, what happens is when you get into debt, you're actually building up the wealth of the individual that lent you the money.
So you're on a crusade against debt. Is that right?
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, that's it. One of the things that we're actually looking at is, one of our goals is we would like to reach, thousands of people and let them know that let them know what the pitfalls of debt is. We want to let them know that they can actually fight back with debt, fight back and take control of their finances. Through the principles that we teach in the book, God's Plans for Your Finances, and then we've just come out with the other book, Freedom from Debt, and it's the handbook that goes along with Freedom from Financial Bondage. And what we do is literally teach people step by step how they can go back in and get their finances under control.
Right. Can we talk a little bit more about just debt in general? I think the audience members would like to just hear a little bit about your concept on debt.
Oh yes, debt. Listen, one of the biggest tragedies of modern times is how the credit card industry is actually taking advantage of the average family. What is happening is through slick finance, through slick marketing, through high interest rates, and through late fees, finance companies are actually at the point now where they can actually charge a person from 30 to 50% interest on their money. And as a result of what's happening is the individuals now are the individual finance companies now are actually targeting people who are in the least position financially to actually do something about it. Somebody that's got in financial trouble and what have you. The finance companies at this particular point is going in and extended them credit. So as a result, one of the problems with debt is people are getting locked into debt at an early age. And as a result, many people are actually going out and spending their entire life just paying that debt and that credit card bill. Debt is destroying the middle class. Debt is actually devastating to the family. As a result, many people have actually literally lost their dream, because now they're spending all of their time going out working and to earn money. And the more money they make, the more money they spend, and the further they go into debt. And it's just like a never-ending cycle. As a result, The biggest problem from debt is it enslaves people. It locks them into a lifestyle. It's an attitude. It's what I usually do